Hey y'all, welcome back to the Empowering the Future of Agriculture podcast with me, Carson Osteen. Today we are joined by Sophia Stutts, and if you'd like to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Sophia Stutts, and I'm from a small town in Middle Tennessee called Huntland. I've served as my chapter's FFA secretary for the last 2 years, and I'm so excited to be sharing my story today with such an influential podcast as this one.
So, starting off, I want to ask, how has your FFA journey looked over the years?
Okay, so far, my FFA journey has been nothing short of incredible. I don't come from a traditional agriculture background, and I'm also not from Tennessee. I come from a large town in Mississippi called Petal. I went to a huge school, but I was never educated about agriculture. So I moved to Tennessee during the pandemic and started in person school my seventh grade year. Well, fast forward to the end of eighth grade. My class took a tour of the high school, and at the end, we got to pick our electives. So here at Huntland, we're a small school, so what we offer is limited. You can choose from business and finance, STEM, or agri-science. We also have music and art, but those aren't available to freshmen yet. So in my eighth grade head, after taking a tour of the classrooms and their clubs they had to offer, I wasn't really interested in most of it. I was still pretty quiet and I kept to myself. However, I knew I was taking personal finance my sophomore year, and in elementary, I was on the robotics team. So that left me with ag class. So reluctantly, I chose it. And oh my gosh, I feel like you hear this exact story in most members. But the minute I walked through that door on the very first day of school, my life changed. I was greeted by the funniest bald man ever, and it took him no time to crack my shell. Somehow, Jason knew agriculture was for me before I did. I remember vividly reading page after page about the FFA organization and filling out these fun things like designing my own jacket and my own emblem. One thing that really stuck with me and I think really played a part in what I do today was memorizing and reciting the creed to Jason. This is where I think he first saw like my potential in speaking. So he asked if I wanted to be a member and compete in conduct of chapter meetings. That was my very first competition and definitely molded the path that I'm following today. As a freshman, I was also lucky enough to attend nationals, and seeing the passion and accomplishments around me and around the nation really inspired me to seek into my own leadership. So from there on, I branched out to competitions from parliamentary procedure and speaking to floriculture and dairy judging. I've also found my area of focus to be education and advocacy, and that journey has been incredible as well.
Yeah. So, speaking of the advocacy, your your platform is doing really, really well. You have a bunch that you're doing on that platform. Would you like to share about your ag advocacy platform a little bit?
Yeah. Um, so I guess okay. So my advocacy platform is called Future Harvest, and here's a little bit of like a backstory. So growing up, as I said, or well, I've always loved the idea of being a teacher, and I have never really been sure like what subject I wanted to teach, but I love the thought of it. So whenever I became involved with FFA more deeply, I loved the connections I had with not only my own but other ag teachers. So at the beginning of my sophomore year, I'd become friends with several advocates and I felt inspired by the work they were doing. It was almost like teaching, but digitally. So I decided to brainstorm what fit my personality. And after a few months, I still wasn't sure what I really wanted to do. But once my chapter started our plow program in early November, I knew immediately. Working with these kids that were much like me and my lack of early agriculture knowledge, seeing their faces and fascination as we read and talked and did crafts on a new topic each week, this influenced me to direct my work to primarily youth. This is where the name Future Harvest comes from. So, the future, as in the kids, and the harvest, as in the knowledge they grow with. My slogan clarifies it a little bit more as I say planting the seeds, teaching ag education for the future of agriculture, the upcoming generations. So altogether, Future Harvest, planting the seeds for the future of agriculture. So I make regular posts from reels to what Wednesdays, which are fun facts, to opportunities I've had, plow days, ag issues, and a whole bunch more. I've worked closely with my county's Farm Bureau, and they've helped me get my ideas into the classrooms, which I'm so thankful for. Um, this past March on National Ag Day, I was able to collaborate with them and have my first solo experience in the classroom with kids, which was so amazing. I taught a lesson to Huntland's fourth grade students about textiles since they were currently studying the Industrial Revolution and the importance of agriculture during that time. I read Where Did My Clothes Come From by Chris Butterworth. He has such an amazing line of books, and we had a group discussion and passed around different bags of textiles to feel as I read informational articles from Ag in the Classroom's Field of Fashion excerpt. The kids were then given two pieces of different material and they made educated guesses based on everything they've learned. We had another group discussion and they filled out worksheets. And after that, we shared our thoughts and the kids got to try their hand at designing clothes by creating outfits from the fabrics they got. Which was so cool to see how everybody has their own personalities and like what they came up with. There was pants and shirts and skirts and dresses. So they cut and glued the pieces onto customizable paper people, and we all had so much fun. And I'm actually so excited because this year I get to work with that group again.
I was watching whenever you would post about all the stuff that y'all were doing, and honestly, every single post was more and more like intriguing and getting people excited to do more with agriculture. And I can definitely say that I did appreciate and enjoy every single post that you put out throughout the plow program and all that.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like if you look from the start of like when I started posting and then like as you go on, it just gets like more like deep involved and like more passionate and you can tell that like what like I'm doing and so many others are doing, it's really like evolving.
Yeah, and you also had an announcement a few weeks ago about your ag magazine. Would you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. That's my favorite thing to talk about recently. So, when I started my agriculture advocacy journey, I planned to dedicate much time to evolving my SAE, which I think most people could guess is agriculture education. I spent forever and so long on ideas of how I could bring something off the screen and make it hands on for education in classrooms. So, I had so many trials and errors and ideas that I thought about but nothing really fit me. But finally, an idea dawned on me. So, as a kid, my school used to have these annual school scholastic book fairs. And I remember buying the dollar magazines, and I always loved having an easy time reading and learning information. So, as I remembered that, I took that memory and created my very own agriculture magazine, or as I like to call them, AgMags. Um, they're specially crafted towards fifth grade students, and inside is five major topics. There's farming, crops, animals, land, and farm machinery. Each page has a fun fact and a did you know question. In addition to being beneficial, I wanted it to be fun because I personally believe that education should be fun and also memorable. So inside there's a coloring page, a personality quiz, a crossword, a word search, and there's also vocabulary words in the back. Through sponsorships and donations, I'm hoping to be able to travel to each elementary school at my district and hopefully beyond to distribute to these students and teach a lesson and a craft if all time allows me to. Um, I have so many people helping me from Farm Bureau and other ag initiatives, and I'm blessed to be able to start distribution at Heartland's fifth graders towards the middle of September. Um, so I have so many ideas and a lot of upcoming information about the Ag Mags, and I can't wait to release more about it.
I can definitely say the day that I saw that post, I honestly like the first thing I did, of course, was share it, and I just started looking into it more, and I like it was really really exciting to see that hitting the stage for these students, like you were saying, to promote agriculture and to mainly educate them on many things that they might not know about. And as I've been preparing my speech for the state fair competitions and all that kind of stuff, and advocacy is the thing that I pretty much get to preach on for 3 minutes, and which thankfully is the topic I got, anyways. But I mean, it's one big thing. Like with today, you have to advocate for something that you really, really are passionate about, and I can definitely say that I see that a lot in what you're able to do. And tying into the next question, what is your favorite part about agriculture advocacy?
Ooh, that is such a hard question, I feel like. My favorite part about like ag advocacy would probably have to be like just the personal opportunities to educate and inspire others about the importance of agriculture. As I've said before, I didn't get that growing up, and to be able to translate that to all the kids around here and watch them just be so excited and involved with it, it really has a special place in my heart for sure. By advocating, we get to raise awareness about the significance of farming, food production, and sustainability. It allows us to be voices for farmers and rural communities and the environment. This also bridges the gap between consumers and the agricultural industry. Um, so, agriculture advocacy enables us to promote understanding and address misconceptions and work towards a more sustainable and resilient food system for the future, whether it's for adults or children.
So, jumping back to FFA, what are some of your favorite things to do in FFA? Like maybe a competition or a certain event?
Ooh, competitions and like events are such a hard pick. Um, I'm such a speaker. So I'd probably have to say like prepared speaking is probably one of my favorite events. I also really enjoy Parley because it's upbeat. I love debate and it really gets you thinking and you work together as a team. Um, I also just have a little niche for being like very formal. So like having the following like the business format. Um, is really fun. But I also love being outdoors, floriculture, soil judging, dairy judging, just to name a few. But that as far as competitions goes, I think that would have to be up there on the list for me.
Yeah, I love the speaking competitions. Like they're my, baby. I do extemp, and I mean, it's probably one of the hardest things you can get into, but like,
Absolutely.
it's amazing. And the knowledge you get from it is really beneficial in the future, too. And, I just love the
Yes,
speaking
absolutely.
competitions.
Yes. I've only done extemp once and I had the opportunity to do it at camp and it was so terrifying, but it was so fun and like taking the class leading up to the night of competition, I just feel like even in just that week I learned so much. And I've evolved so much as a speaker just from extemp that one time.
Yeah, I did. I was selected this past year for to do it at camp too, and getting up there after you prepare a speech for maybe 2, 3. Well, you had a handful of minutes. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but you have to get up there and give it, and it's nothing compared to actual competition. Like you're used to, having your stuff pretty much figured out, but you're pretty much just thrown in the room, figured out, and then you're out there. There's no in between,
Right.
nothing like that. And getting out there in front of about 240 people the week I was there was it was pretty rough, but
Oh yeah,
scary to say the least.
to say the least.
Yeah, so I was looking through some events that you've recently attended, and so you recently attended the Farm Bureau's President's Conference. Would you want to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Um, I just love Farm Bureau with my whole entire heart. I've been spending so much time with them and working so closely with my county's Farm Bureau and the state county's Farm Bureau as I've released these magazines. Um, so through working so closely with them, I was invited to attend their Farm Bureau President's Conference in Franklin, Tennessee. Um, this past week, I think. I have no idea. this so it was a multiple day conference where the county boards and their presidents from all the 95 counties of Tennessee They gathered together and are represented to vote on policies, procedures, and so much more. Um, I was directly invited to their Ag in the Classroom banquet, where I was able to network with so many influential people um, on who I was and what my goals were. And needless to say, I received so much support throughout a statewide community. I met so many great leaders who instilled so much confidence in me. And I had a great talk with Keith Carver and UT President Randy Boyd. Um, Fingers crossed in a few years I'll be a Tennessee Vol. I I met so many great Farm Bureau representatives as well as Congressman John Rose. It was so great to talk to him. Mr. Dan Strasser has helped me so greatly with my ag mags, and he actually gifted me an accurate ag literacy book that they were awarding to counties who have been supporting ag in the classroom financially. So it was so honorable to have been given one of those books, and I'm just so blessed to have been able to attend and support such a great organization.
Yeah, Farm Bureau is always one that's going to have like that special place in the heart of so many within agriculture, and it is really cool to see you and so many others getting that opportunity to step into that and see pretty much what it's about.
Yes,
And yeah, so leading into the next question, where do you see the future of agriculture?
this is such a broad question as well. So from my point of view, as a junior in high school and have been involved with FFA and 4-H and other organizations, um, I feel like I can see the future of agriculture as an evolving field with a lot of potential. With my passion for ag advocacy and education, I can envision a future where technology and innovation play a significant role in making farming more efficient and sustainable. I think furthering our technical knowledge can provide advancements in agriculture where data and technology can help farmers and ranchers make better decisions. Also, my involvement in educational content and community events. Um, I feel like things like this can help foster a new generation of informed consumers and future agricultural leaders by promoting the importance of agriculture and connecting with both youth and adults. This can contribute to a more knowledgeable and supportive society that values and understands the critical role that agriculture holds. Um, so overall, like I'm not too sure what the future holds, but as far as now, I hope I am a part of these changes, and I hope I can always help to create positive impacts in the development of agriculture.
Yeah, and I believe that advocacy is going to play, of course, a crucial role in the growth of it. I mean, we've seen that already
Definitely.
with so many things. Like, of course, there's so many ag advocates out there right now that are just day by day growing and growing the industry. And, it's kind of an underappreciated thing with some people. But, like, once people start realizing actually that, yeah, we kind of are at the forefront of some of the growth of the industry, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, tying into the next question, what would you say to a person who is interested in getting into ag advocacy?
Could you repeat that real quick?
What would you say to a person that is interested in getting into ag advocacy?
Oh my gosh. I actually had someone come up to me um, in, I think they're sophomore now. And they came up to me the other day in ag class and they were like, how would I go about like starting maybe what do you call it? A little platform on Instagram. And I cannot tell you, I think I jumped up and down for like a whole minute. I was like, an advocacy platform? And they were like, yeah, is that what like where you make those like posts and you do the things? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. So I feel like just something I would say to someone who was wanting to start an advocacy platform is um, just take that feeling and run with it because in my mind, I feel like being able to advocate for such an important community um, is so like honorable when it comes down to it, because being able to educate, whether your audience is youth or adults or somewhere in the middle, just for like everyone in general, um, just taking that knowledge and educating yourself and then putting it out there for everyone else to see, is just something so amazing. And I feel like if you can be personable and like have not like a impact, like a way to like personally impact so that like it's memorable for other people, um like just like as an example, like making like colorful posts, or like I see so many advocacy accounts that have gotten really popular on Instagram. Doing reels is a really big thing right now, and taking like the latest trends and like turning them into like educational like ag tidbits. I think that is so fun. So I feel like one of the main things is just finding like what works for you and like what makes you personable to other people, and something that also you enjoy doing. Obviously you don't know everything about agriculture all the time, so a lot of the times I do a lot of research, I ask questions, and I reach out, and I take that and then I educate others. And I would just say definitely take it and run with it for sure.
Yeah, I remember exactly what I was doing when I got the random idea to just, start the account. I was, sitting there for, I don't know, weeks on weeks, probably just thinking, like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? And then, sitting there thinking about who's been influencing my decisions, who's been, educating others on agriculture. I was like, yeah, that might, I mean, I could possibly be a part of that group. And, it is hard to get started, but once you do, you soar with it. You get going and you're excited. You want to cover more. Like, and the one thing that I really found like really really helpful was using catchy titles for like series. I did one that was talking about just the future. It was called "Growing a Brighter Future." I did about four probably posts on it, and it called people's attention because it's catchy, colorful, like you said. Just like anything that can catch somebody's eye is like crucial. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have a handful more questions, and this one actually is going back to camp from this year. Do you want to share a little bit about your camp experience?
Yes, yes, and yes. Um, I have been to camp 2 years now. I went the summer going into my sophomore year, and then I just went the summer going into my junior year. And I honestly don't even know where to start. I feel like with my first camp experience, um, I was definitely like passionate and hooked on agriculture, but I wouldn't say it wasn't till like after camp that I really was like, oh my goodness, like this is where like I'm meant to be. Because I don't think it was until after camp that I like realized I wanted to teach ag or anything of that sort. I just, it was a club that I really liked. So I went to camp, and just the community and home space that you build within the week that you're there, um, is just incredible, because you're going with um, chapters from all over the state, and it's people you've never seen, places you've never heard. Even now, going my second year, I went with some chapters that I'd still never heard of. Um, and it's so cool to be there with people that have the same passion as you, that have the same ideas as you, do the same competitions, same um, events at their schools. And it's so cool to also share what's different. So like what they may do at their school or what you do at your school that maybe they don't. um, and also you get to hear everybody's amazing stories about finding their passion and their love for agriculture. And you make so many friends that you are still friends with today. I know adults that made friends in FFA and have told me that they're still close friends to this day. Um, And you also just get so many like opportunities at camp. You get to do competitions you may not have done, speaking, other things like that. They have an advocacy um, class. They have leadership classes, and with the state officers or the past state officers. Um, I believe this year they had geocaching, which was super cool. They have forestry, they have team building, rifle range, the lake, so many sports activities. I could not even list them all. Um, when I came to camp, I didn't even know what Gaga Ball was, but I learned quickly. but they have swimming and night session, and then you have your officer classes in the morning, and you just learn so much at camp, and it's really helped me grow as a person. And it's honestly probably the best week of my summer, and I just know that so many people can say the same.
Yeah, I remember exactly the whole car ride, which I actually did my accept speech on this year at camp. I was talking about like walking in scared to death about everything. I didn't know what in the world I was about to get into. I was nervous. I was a nervous wreck actually. Um, but once you kind of get there, you start figuring it out, and you actually start falling in love with camp, and you want to leave, you want to get home, but then you about a few days later, you're like, wow, I wish I was still there. And
Yes, absolutely.
and honestly, so I was elected for our chapter's reporter position for my sophomore year. So the summer after freshman, summer before sophomore year, that reporter class did so much for me. Completely gave our chapter social media as a facelift. Like just teaching what you might not learn like just in your chapter setting. You're hearing from advisors from all across the state. I know my freshman year I had two Stewart's Creek advisors, so I was hearing a good bit of information that could help. Um, and this past year I had an Eagleville and Dyersburg. So you're meeting with advisors from all over the state. You're meeting with members all over the state, and you're like you said, there's so many friendship opportunities. And some of the people I met at camp this year are still some of like the people I talk to almost every single day. And it's like I said, it can be scary, but once you take that step, you're not gonna regret it. Um,
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, would you want to share a little bit about your experiences you've had at like state convention?
Yes, absolutely. I've had so many wonderful experiences and all the events that I go to for FFA, but state convention has been so impactful on me. Um, like I said earlier, I did go to national convention, and I talked about how much that really influenced me and inspired me to be more of a leader. But at state convention, it's a lot smaller, and so much more like connected. You get to see like familiar faces that you've been seeing at maybe sectional competitions and regional competitions, state fair week, other like little leadership events, prep courses maybe. So when you go to state and then you start seeing all those familiar faces, you kind of realize, oh, there's really not that many of us. But I mean, there really is. Um, there's what, 33,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping. Yeah. So, um also state just gives you so many opportunities to try new competitions. I've done quiz bowl at state. I know my chapter's done ENR. This past year, I actually did the agri-science fair for the first time, and that was such a great experience. I did my experiment like prior to, and then built a board, and wrote a whole long PDF, all about the project. And then they all went in the agri science fair room, and you got to look at everybody else's like projects, and it's really cool to see like the dedication and time that's been put into some of these projects. um, and then you get interviewed, and the judges are just so sweet, and it really is just such a calming environment. Session is so great. I love hearing the state officers retiring addresses, and they're so inspirational to you. And when like comparing Tennessee FA's State Expo to the National Expo. It is so much smaller. Um, but something that I love is that the state officers will walk around and they'll talk to you. And for some of the younger people and even some of the older people, it's so cool to get to talk to those state officers and hear their stories and see what they might be doing this week. There's so many chances to connect with other members and other chapters. You know, you can go eat together on the strip. You can go play mini golf. I think there's bowling, there's arcades, there's so many fun things to do in and out of session. And our chapter also stays in a cabin, and we've done this for the last few years. Um, uh, Opposed to staying in like a hotel, and it makes it so much more homey. We come back and we cook meals together and we clean up and we have like different games every night, or we'll go like swim in the pool. And the cabins that we stay in are always really nice, and it's so sweet to be connected with not only Tennessee FFA members but your own chapter members that you might not have even been that close with before.
Yeah, I can't even like begin to talk about like my first year at state. I mean, I went freshman year. Of course, I was scared with everything I did that year. I just, didn't really know
Yeah.
where I was in, where I, would fit in, where I would, what I would enjoy. But I managed to go to state somehow. I think I was like the only freshman to go that year. Um, but I mean, like you were saying, the whole, you see the state officers, you see all these people that you may regularly see, you may not, and like those connections, you're constantly reminded of them when you're there, and seeing those retiring addresses, they can be sad, they can be very inspirational, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's no telling how much motivation I got from the past 8 ones that I sat through this year. They were every single one was jam packed with so much like motivational stuff, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite things at state. Other than, of course, seeing the new team get elected and all that kind of stuff at the end of the week. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
and yeah, so I mean, I'd encourage anybody, if you get the chance to go and run with it. It's fun. Of course, the expo, you have so many colleges, career opportunities. I know John Deere had this little booth last year where they had a full on tractor mechanic little thing. I don't remember exactly how to describe it, but it was this little kid toy is what it reminded me of. But it was a full on, not a full on tractor, but like a mini version of like you could do some engine repair or anything like that. And there's so many opportunities there. And I don't even know where to start about all of them, but
Yes,
there's so
Expo,
much.
yeah, Expo is so great. And if I'm remembering correctly, this past year we also got a state convention national officer visit from Grant Norfleet.
We did. And
Yes, and yeah, his speech was so impactful. I loved it. He was so funny. Um, it was just great.
yeah, yeah, I sat through that speech too, and it was honestly, I loved every second of it. And one night, this is a funny story. After the state degree ceremony, we went out and ate with some people from Covington, and we were on the way back. We were going to go do the sky lift, but of course it was closed. Whatever, it was too late. Anything, something like that. And I just so happened to be walking past Baskin Robbins, and I had posted some story after his speech, and he was like, "Hey, meet up with me, whatever, take a picture of this kind of stuff." And I'm like, I might not have time. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, but here I am walking past Baskin Robbins. Here's the 8 state officers, and then there's him, and I'm like, oh, do I like just interfered? Like, what do I do? And of course, they're all like welcoming. They're pretty much just like your friends when you're up there. Um,
Oh yeah.
it's awesome. But
Also,
go ahead.
oh sorry. Adding to that, I just remembered, um, not only was Grant there, but past national president Andrew was there too. I just
I
remember
did
that as
see him
well. And
sneaking around a little
yes,
bit.
yeah, I saw him and he wasn't like in his official dress. He was sneaking around, and I was just like, that is so cool. Like it was almost like scary to go up and talk to him, but I went and talked to him and we had a great conversation. And he was so like just personable. Like he was so sweet.
Yeah, we were sitting through. I think it was the session where they were doing all the chapter awards, and I'm
Hmm.
sitting there with my chapter, and I look over and I'm like, "Wait a second, he looks familiar." And then he like turned around, and I was like, "Oh, that's yeah." And and by the time I look back, he was off behind stage doing something. And you never know who you're gonna see up there too. There's so many like industry leaders. I know the governor went not this past year, but the year before he was there. Of course, the commissioner of agriculture is there. We had the commissioner of education was there this year too. There's so many people there, and you never know who you're gonna
Yeah.
get to run into, and that might be your future career. Like you might be able to build those connections to possibly get that job easier in the future that you really, really want, or anything to deal with that. And yeah,
Yes, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly believe that because of farmers and agriculture in general, um, people like me and you and every other person in the world, we have so much career freedom thanks to them providing food and clothes and sustainability for all of us.
oh, definitely. So, unfortunately, that is all the questions I do have for today. Are there any like closing remarks that you'd like to give?
Not in particular. I'm just so grateful to have been a part of your podcast today, and I think you are doing so many great things, and I've loved watching your journey. And just again, thank you for letting me and so many others share our stories on this platform.
Of course, and I've definitely enjoyed having you and hearing your story about so many different things. So, that is all that I have for today, guys. I will see y'all. Well, I won't see y'all back, but tune in next Monday for another episode, and thank y'all for listening.